Esta conferencia comenzará a grabarse.
While you send to Nina the presentation, I will introduce. Okay. So,
Hello, Antonio.
hello, Victor. Welcome, everybody. We will start. You know that today we are going to speak about the one of the industrial ecosystems, construction. And to do that, we have with us a representative of the DG Grow, Antonio Paparella, that will make the introduction to this ecosystem. And after him, we will hear Victor Ferreira from the cluster Habitat Sustainable, and Enrique Cobreros and Carmen de Besa from AICE. You know, our main intention with these sessions this month, is to first understand what does imply the ecosystem, okay, who is involved, and what are the main dynamics and problematics, opportunities, you could say, okay. But also we want to identify the best practice and references on how clusters can be involved on the development of those ecosystems, and policy instruments, very important for us, the policy instruments, okay, that we want to compile policy instruments and to share them with the community, okay, in order to facilitate the implementation of those policies. So I have with me now the presentation from Antonio Paparella. Antonio, I am ready. Yes. I don't know if you can see my screen. Can you see my screen or not?
No, unfortunately, I'm on the phone, but no problem.
Anyway, so I am in the cover. So thank you for joining us, and the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Antonio, for inviting me to this series of events from the cluster of the European Alliance against coronavirus, and to let I understand that I am the first industrial ecosystem to be addressed in this series. It's my duty maybe to introduce maybe what we do intend by ecosystem, because of course you can say, well, ecosystem at European level, ecosystem in general in the nature is something more very local. So how does it? What is the, I would say, the meaning of that at a European scale or wide scale? So if you can maybe show the second slide to the participants. For now, sorry for my inability to connect to go to meeting. So the concept is referred in different papers of the Commission. First of all, the industrial strategy for Europe, which was presented in March this year. So basically, it's something that is referring to the value chain, but that goes a bit beyond the traditional actor of the value chain, yes, including the academia and the researcher, the startups, service provider. So something that goes beyond, and this is a bit reinforced, this concept in the last more recent communication after the COVID. Commission presented a communication, Repair and Prepare the Next Europe Next Generation, and where we presented the need of to address the interdependence of economies between different value chains, the need of addressing more, I would say, well-functioning or single market between different businesses. And lastly, the last document I would like to refer to, it's the staffing working document, which was accompanying this document I was referring to, is that the ecosystem captured the complex set of internal linkages among sectors and firms spreading across countries and single market. So it's really at the end of the story. It's what we like to address is with the ecosystem, the interdependency between member states and between different value chain. Also to address the bottlenecks in terms of inefficiencies and also shortcomings in terms of in the single market. Also to see where the regulatory context need to evolve. And it's also used, what we would like to use the ecosystem is as a concept, as a dynamic concept, and to try to have a measurement, monitoring of the real economy in real time. So if you can jump on the 5th slide, please. Basically, we consider ecosystem as something as more as networks of firms, sectors, institutions, rather than traditional value chains. We consider public and both public and private activities included in this ecosystem concept, and we think that it's not something rigid. It's something that, by essence, will evolve over time, and so we will need probably to adapt our monitoring tools to see how things are evolving over time. Now, the next slide, please. So we have identified 14 industrial ecosystem, among other the construction sector, among other for the construction. So there are other ecosystems that maybe are very closely linked to the construction, like for instance the tourism, like the renewable energy, like the retail. So we have also identified some interdependence of this ecosystem with other. Now, so more concretely, what do we have included? First of all, we have identified in this ecosystem all the activities that covers the whole life cycle of buildings infrastructure, which means that we include in this ecosystem design activity, construction, refurbishment, demolition. But this is not only limited to contractors, construction product manufacturers, architect, engineer, that are the traditional, I would say, actors involved in value chain. but also other part of the ecosystem that are involved in that, as I was referring, startup, research in academia, to constitute this ecosystem. This means that this ecosystem, it's quite a huge economic actor that represents turnover of 2,400 billion a year, 10% of the EU value added, 5 million companies, of which mostly are SMEs, and the direct employment of 11 million people. For the COVID, we have tried to identify what was trends. Of course, this needs to be confirmed now by the more recent figures. But of course, with the COVID, we have seen that many contractors were challenged with sanitary measures, the lack of workers and supply chain disruptions. The numbers are, of course, to be confirmed, but our figures our estimates are about 80% of all contractors all over Europe were affected by all this troubleshooting. In terms of activity, the activities of contractor, which is, I would say, the end of this ecosystem, was reduced by 50% over the second quarter of this year and 25% in end of the third quarter. So we think that overall, over 2020, the losses will be 100 billion. Probably in 2021, there would be still other losses in terms of turnover. And but we see that the confidence indicators are more positive since June. There are some relaunch of the activity, and the industrial players are seeing a bit more positively the prospect for the coming months. Now, of course, all this is subject about how the pandemic situation will evolve. Now, my last slide is about the policy initiatives that you were trying to know. Of course, an important initiative that we launched in relation to construction was launched in March with the Circular Economy Action Plan. There is an important chapter in terms of construction about what can we do in terms of circularity in construction, in terms of how we can encapsulate the concept of circularity in building design, design for the construction, better management of waste, construction demolition waste also. Now we are working on a communication which is called the Renovation Wave, which will be presented in October this year. And this Renovation Wave, it's a very important initiative that will refer not only to energy efficiency aspect, but it will go beyond energy efficiency aspect, will encapsulate also objective of circularity. There will address a question of how we can tackle a better modernization of the building stock in terms of digitalization, for instance. It will address the question of about how we can also have better competence in terms of jobs, skills, new talents to cope with the challenge of doubling the renovation rate in Europe to cope with notably energy and climate objectives. And there are a certain number of initiatives that are addressed there, notably the question of how we can also address the question of mobilizing some neighborhood approach. Means that we can work better at some kind of district level to mobilize some investment, some project pipeline, and that are also tackling the question of affordability of investment, of renovation, and also the question of more the livability of social aspect of living in neighborhoods and not only going beyond energy efficiency. This is an important dossier initiative to become. And of course, also though in July we also presented also some ideas about a new skill agenda with Pact for Skill. I think in your different session you are addressing that. I will not come back to that, but construction is one of the areas where probably we will have some development also in the future, also based on the ongoing activity that we have, blueprint that we have in the construction sector. And all this, to help all this happening, there are financial support that will come from different instruments, notably the Recovery and Resilience Facility, the Just Transition Mechanism, the Cohesion Fund, InvestEU, LIFE, Horizon Europe, and the Modernization Fund. It's a lot of instruments. From time to time, it's not easy to understand how these apply. The Commission is also working on some guidelines about how to best use all these instruments by member states, but also from the private sector. And also in the framework of the EU Next Generation, the recovery plan that was presented recently and confirmed by the Council, the Commission is working on with the member states to identify some priority for investment and reform that will help negotiation with the member states to use these funds, especially the Recovery and Resilience Facilities, which is addressing a lot of pointers regarding this renovation wave. So this renovation wave is not something just I would say some generic ideas. It has a lot of financial pointer, and does these instruments, financial instruments will help to make this more concrete and also to make this work that the Commission is doing in collaboration with member states make some guidelines about what are the priorities and where we would like that the member states are using these funds for. Will also help to have also between the different member states some kind of more consistency in order that, of course, we have more cohesion policy and solidarity objectives between member states also to achieve. Thank you very much, and of course, if there are any questions, I'm at your disposal.
You are very, very welcome, Antonio, and I am sure that we will have questions for you. But first, we will hear the rest of the speakers. So now I want to introduce Victor Ferreira from the Cluster Habitat, Portugal. Victor, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Do you want me to share my screen with the presentation, or you share?
I am giving you the presentation rights.
Okay, thank you. So let's see if I. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, the page is 10. So I don't know if you want to start.
Back in the beginning, yes. Okay,
perfect. Now, go on, please. Thank you.
Okay, so let me just. I think okay. So thank you all, and thank you for the invitation, Antonio. I was trying to have a better look of my screen here, which is a bit confusing, but I hope it's okay with you. Just okay. I don't know if it is okay. I think I can see it better now.
It's okay. We can see it very well.
Yeah, because it was some multiple screens in my screen that blocks the. Okay. So I hope it's okay. So I'm just going to use this presentation because I have adapted one and just to give to European Cluster Alliance and to share with you afterwards. But I will simplify it. I will adapt and simplify based on it my intervention today. We are one of the Portuguese clusters, the one related to this ecosystem and involving some other aspects that I will talk about them during the brief cluster presentation I have in the beginning, and so I'll run around the first slides quickly just to make a quick presentation and show you some the current and past challenges in this value chain that the cluster represents, what we call the habitat value chain, and then I will focus in today's meeting questions, which is what about the current challenges that the cluster tries to answer, and in this perspective of the recovery that we are living, and also a focus on the instruments that could be interesting or that we have been using and could be interesting. We have heard from the previous presentation, some in the last slide, some of these interesting instruments that will come about in the next years. So just a quick review of the cluster. We have been active since 2009, and basically from the beginning we have set up sustainability as the driving force for innovation and competitiveness. So for trying to work with our companies and our R&D centers using sustainability concepts as the driving force for innovation, for making things different in our habitat, in the build-up of our habitat, and so developing synergies to create products that in this habitat value chain, which is a value chain that involves this construction sector, but it has always an important sector for us, which is the materials and products that we use to build up our buildings, cities, and infrastructures. This is our habitat value chain with different subsectors from materials to engineering, architecture, real estate. So we have members that come from this value chain, where we try to work synergies between them. We have around 150 members. We are traditionally a very exporting members in our cluster, with more intensity in different countries, and basically the cluster tries to promote this innovation and competitiveness through projects, different kind of projects, either with between companies and also with cities. Well, the nature of our members are involved, and also trying to promote through different dissemination activities. So focusing on the creation of our strategic areas since the beginning, we have been establishing some working groups in these three big areas of sustainable cities and territories: the eco-innovation for the industry, which has been an important area, and the internationalization. This is our main action groups, and these have been able to set up our main strategic structural areas, which is one linked with the sustainable cities, another with efficient use of resources, the development of sustainable products and solutions. The internationalization is of course always present. It's a transversal activity in our cluster, and I show here some basic challenges that we have been dealing in these structural areas, that is related to eco-design and eco-innovation in our habitat. The circular economy has certainly become important, because we have from the extractive sector to the transformation industry into materials and products for buildings and cities. We have of course a major role to use circular economy as a driving force in our manufacturing and in the solutions for more efficient construction of our cities and buildings and infrastructure. So these are some of the challenges that have animated and inspired projects, not only cluster projects, but projects between among our members, international and national projects. So this is the area where we have been working in the cluster. So this is the brief presentation I want to do about the cluster itself and the challenge we have been coping. Different kind of instruments have been used, and basically you can find a lot of solutions in our websites that I leave you the links for your exploration in the future. Also our members are there, so it's a sum up of what have been the result of these years of work of networking in the cluster. So let me focus on the issue of today about this industrial ecosystem and its challenges, that of course traditionally we talk about them in terms of construction, but really we have different kind, a more comprehensive view, which is this concept of building our habitat, and so involving, there are more than construction involved in the habitat value chain, and as also was stated in the Terry Paparella presentation some minutes ago. So we have been facing, starting by the critical situations, the construction and the sectors involved in our cluster also have been facing some challenges in the recent years. You know, if I resume the last decade, in 2010, 2008, 2010 started the crisis that hit very hard the construction sector and its related sectors. Then the 2014 was the worst year, and we see some recovery from 2016 on. And when we were getting in our feet, came the COVID pandemic, and we had again some worrying moments that led to this concern of not only a sanitary crisis but also an economic crisis that we don't know how it's going to end, but we are making every effort to come out and try these recovery plans to try to cope and help our companies during this process. So this is a critical situation. Another one are, of course, that affects directly this ecosystem is the critical environmental challenges that we have seen. Climate changes, we have seen the impact on resources caused by, also with the contribution of this sector, waste, pollution. So these are today's environmental challenges that will affect the way of doing things, of the way of building our habitat, the way of building our cities, of developing the materials that could be more environmentally friendly. So this is certainly something that will need cluster members' reply, and the cluster is also very attentive to these questions. And then, of course, we cannot forget our human resources. There are some challenges related to which are critical to the workforce. We know that jobs and workforce is a problem in this sector. There is some deficit today. It's difficult to find people to go and work in the construction sites. So we need to make this adaptation to the digital challenges, and we need to make the adaptations on the way we build our cities and our buildings, because it's not easy to find a workforce that is willing to work in construction sites. So we must rethink the way we build, and this is, of course, it's also a challenge, and it's a challenge that comes from the evolution of time. So we must consider them in our reply to this recovery from this successive crisis. So we must ask ourselves what to do and how. And in this context, how and what could the clusters' contributions be to the recovery from critical situations like this that encompass different kind of factors. So this is certainly something that we must think. And the reply, I think the reply has been present in our discussions, and have been present in the drivers that the European Commission, bringing the contribution of different member states of all over Europe, have tried to set up with these instruments and these policies that are adopted by the different member states and are pushed forward by the European Commission for the European Union policies. So I think I will look into this.
1 minute.
Yes.
1 minute.
Yes, Antonio?
1 minute. Because we need to, please. You have 1 minute left, please.
Okay. So it's okay. So I'll try to finish. This is my last slide. Try to finish because I think we have about the reply to these challenges. So the cluster has been involved in projects that are related to these subjects. Companies should find their own recovery paths through clustering. This is an important message because of the networking and the cooperation are certainly drivers, and use drivers that are such as circular economy and sustainability, the Green Deal topics, the digital transformation, the resource efficiency are certainly present in several European policies that are being designed, and we have heard something like the renovation wave, which I think it's an important driver for these particular ecosystems. And the question that you must do in these crisis moments brought by the pandemic, is certainly we have to rethink and change their business as usual, the way through innovation, to create a more sustainable habitat. This is the role that the cluster is trying to help, changing the way we build and use our and the way we use our products in the habitat that we are building. And so clusters are the ideal environment to foster this transformation using these drivers. And there are already a lot of instruments at European, national, and regional level that can be used and able to help in this transition. And what is important, really important, is not designing a particular. I think this is not the focus, designing new instruments, because I think there are enough. But the importance is to make them more effective and to help clusters to better exercise their intention. So there are instruments like InnoSoup, like Interreg. We have seen instruments in the internationalization, like networking and cluster partnerships. So basically, we have to outreach more. I think it's to try to involve more clusters in more countries and more cluster members. Of course, this is our purpose. We're trying to define the use of these instruments to make them more effective. So basically, this is the message that I want to leave, and we are, of course, ready to cooperation, open to cooperation in this field. Thank you, Antonio, for that.
Well, obrigado, Victor. Thank you. Sorry because I was pushing you.
Okay.
You know that the time has its limits, and we are a little
late.
You very much. Thank you very much. And now it's time to hear Enrique Cobreros and Carmen de Besa from ICE. Are you ready, Enrique?
Okay, we are ready.
Do you want to have the presentation rights, or do you prefer that I do that?
Yeah, please, Antonio, if we can have them.
I am looking for the name. How are you?
Cluster ICE.
Okay, I see it now. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much, Antonio. Thank you very much, Nina. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you. It's a pleasure also see you again, Victor. Sorry, because we have no presentation. We have some images about our best practices, but we have not a presentation. First of all, a very short introduction about our cluster. ICE is the cluster of efficient habitat from Castilla y León, from Spain. We are more or less 8 years old, and we have 110 partners. Our partners are above all companies from the construction sector, architect, engineer, construction companies, but not also we have also companies about energy sector, for example, heritage sector, also third sector organization, and this is for us very important. Open innovation, open collaboration is critical for us. Well, one of the most important area, working area in our cluster is the challenges area. This area is coordinated by Carmen de Besa, who's with me here, and she explain us how she coordinates this area. How is this important area for the cluster?
Yeah, thank you, all of you. The area I am responsible for is called challenges. The name says everything. The challenges that we are facing at the moment are 3. One is very big, is people, health, and well-being. related to well-being, meaning third sector or social economy, people who are disabled. The second one is environment, of course, and sustainability. And the third one is technology, digital transformation. Those are our three main challenges. And the challenges were already on the table before the pandemic. But the pandemic has put the spotlight on these three challenges. We were working on them, but the pandemic has demonstrated that they are so critical. So we decided to work to intensify our actions in order to face the pandemic and the crisis. You want to, Enrique, you want to explain the three main lines?
Well, what are we doing now in this critical time for everybody? Well, in the short term, we are helping our partners. How? Providing maps, providing gloves, sending daily information about the new rules, the new laws, helping them also with the human resources, very important in this time, and also very important, organizing different meetings with our government, because it's very important that our partners can explain their problems to our government, and that our government directly can answer them about this problem. So we have doing this kind of things in this time in the short term. But for the long term, we are working in three main directions that we consider very important. The first direction, we are intensifying the innovation. Why? Because we have not only the construction ecosystem, but we think all the ecosystems have a risk, and the risk is to work for the daily problems and forget the future. And the future is critical now, more critical than never. And so we are intensifying our innovation. First line. Second line, we are also intensifying the collaboration between our partners and between third parties also. And third, very important line, we are opening our windows. We're collaborating with other sectors. For us, this third line is very important, because we can't work only in our ecosystems. We have to collaborate with other sectors. Carmen can now explain our, I don't know if they are best practices, but our practices in each of these three lines.
Yeah. In the first line, intensifying innovation, we have just started up 7 projects, innovation projects in national and regional calls. And we are just to begin an H2020. So innovation, intensifying our effort in getting innovation or research and development projects. We are still waiting for other 6 proposals in the national call of the Ministry of Industry. So intensifying the innovation in international, national or regional calls. In the second line, helping our associates and the value chains to improve their answer to these challenges that I mentioned before. We are working in, well, 2 actions or 2 best practices. One of them is a very specific workshops to explain our value chains, how to face the digital transformation, but a real and practical digital transformation. Listen to them, to the actors of the sector, and trying to give them solutions, real and practical solutions in these workshops. And a second action in this line, in this main line, helping them to start up projects in circular economy, rehabilitation, or in the same line, or in the same, in order to profit the Green Deal, the European Green Deal. And we have just, we are trying to start up a working group with some of our associates to put into practice or to define how is what we call life habitat district, or a healthy district, sustainable healthy district. Why life habitat? Because this is one of our main actions in the 3rd line. What we call opening the windows or intensifying the intersectoriality. We have 2 actions. Congress life habitat, meaning it's a congress about health and well-being in buildings and cities. This congress took place in Valladolid in February, at the end of February, just before the pandemic. It's true that it was before the pandemic, but it's shown the main factors that has been in the center of the debate during the pandemic. So we took a knowledge during the Congress to give some answers to the pandemic and the crisis. And in this sense, I want to show you.
It's very important to share activities with the sector, with the sector.
This Congress was shared with other 2 clusters, the clusters of health in Castilla and Leon and the 3rd sector cluster of Castilla and Leon. And this collaboration between sectors was absolutely critical. And I want to show you and share with you the web page of the Congress.
We are not receiving now any screen.
Sorry.
Anyway, please.
Yeah.
You have 1 minute, please. Okay.
Yeah, and the last action, in the same line as the Congress, together with some of our associates, we made a web page named En Casa con Salud, at home with health, giving some tips, to keep healthy during the pandemic. And the last one, one of the most important, was this document we made with other four regional clusters of Castilla and Leon, trying to give a vision on innovation and collaboration after the pandemic. So we propose in this document more than 50 actions to recover after the pandemic. It's not only for the companies of these sectors or the private sector, also for the politicians, administration, public administration even citizens. And this document is shared with all the society. And if you want to have a look on it, you just have to write to me to my email that I put in the chat. I'm very pleased to share it with you if you want. Those are the best practices of the actions we have taken to help to recover.
Oh, thank you, Carmen. It's time to close. Sorry, because we need to have some minutes to speak.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for both of you. I am sure that there are questions for Antonio Paparella. First of all, I will try or like to make a direct question, Antonio. How do you see the relationship between clusters and industrial ecosystem? Do you take it in account?
It's a very good question, Antonio. And I think as I say, our concept of ecosystem englobes, I would say, a series of other concepts like value chain, clusters. So I think the relation between ecosystem and this other initiative that are ongoing, very relevant initiatives that I've just heard about, I think needs to be maintained, and at the end of the day, I would say it's all this networking of different activities that will at the end promote a stronger Europe, a stronger, more sustainable Europe, a more modern Europe regarding the way we build, the way we live, and the way that the construction activities will have a less impact on the environment. And so I think at the end of the day, I think it's trying to what we are trying to do is to build on different existing activities and whether they are at more on a regional level, more on the inter-regional level, or being more at cross-national level. So I think, yes, there are certainly a link there to be maintained or to be strengthened, yes, in the future.
I want to offer you our full collaboration on that aspect. Okay, you know, there are dozens of clusters in Europe that are related, if not 100, to constructions. Okay, and I think that we can support you and your goals. Okay, and I need to say that explicitly. I want to say that explicitly. Okay, we have today just 2 examples of what clusters are doing, but we could speak about the super cluster at European level, those initiatives that are joining cluster across different countries, and I think that they could have a role in developing your goals. But I don't want to speak only myself. So any comment, question from the audience, from the attendants? There are other cluster members and managers here with us from other countries. Anybody want to comment, suggest?
Yes.
Propose?
Antonio?
Go ahead, please.
Do you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
My name is Vladimir Bumila from Construction Cluster Slovenia. I would like to say hello to Victor, of course, because we worked together for some time. But as the supercluster was mentioned, I would like to invite quite some of the clusters here, which mention the circular economy, to our recent initiative, which is International Circular Construction Cluster. This aims to be a supercluster in this field, and we are in incubation phase, so looking for partners which would like to work together with us and write this common agenda together. So if you're interested in this topic and in international collaboration, please contact me, and we can then work together from this point on. So International Circular Construction Cluster.
Thank you, Vladimir. Could you put your reference or your email in the chat?
Yes.
That would be wonderful. Thank you. There is one question in the chat from Sorcha Edwards. Would you explain, Sorcha? Would you speak directly?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Thank you.
Yes. Hi. Thanks for the invitation. Interesting. Very interesting to hear the activities of the cluster. Obviously, I'm working to see what funding opportunities can be available for the social housing sector and the cooperative housing sector. And I was just curious, Antonio mentioned a lot of funds that I've already heard of, but I didn't hear before of the modernization fund. And I just was wondering what that was about and who that will be eligible for.
Antonio Paparella.
Sí.
Will you comment on that?
Maybe Sorcha can send to you in bilateral some more information about that. It's
sure. Yeah.
I think it's part of the package that was presented recently by the Commission, and there's something, probably we have a fact sheet there present in our website. I will send to you some information about that. Okay.
Great, thanks a lot. Yeah. There's so many new instruments, it's hard to keep track. Thanks a lot.
Perfect, that's wonderful, and we could share it in the ECCP, in the article that we will write about today's session with the video. So thank you very much. More, one last comment or questions? I think that we need to explore and to compile references of what is being doing in the different countries related to the recovery plans. And I would like to hear from Antonio if you have references of the kind of activities that you think that makes sense to include in the recovery plans. For example, today I have sent a suggestion to my regional government about this, and I'm not sure if the rebuilding of of our cities it could be included on the recovery plans. Could you explain a little more about that?
Well, this is a work in progress. We are doing that for each country. We are making some kind of elaborating some guidelines that we are presenting to the member states in order to act on some reforms and some investment that could be eligible for under the different instruments that I have showed to you. This, especially in terms of this recovery resilience facility, which is the bulk of the next EU generation proposal. The Commission presented this 750 million of which 500 million, a bit more than 500 billion, was for this just for the member states to be used in terms of aid, mostly in terms of grants, and the part in terms of loans. Of course, with the EU Council, there have been some negotiation. There are still, I would say, some negotiation, some dialogue. We call that dialogue between the institution, the Parliament, European Parliament, and European Council to come. This I cannot say to you what will be the final figure finally, but we are working on identifying this kind of priorities. It's the way that has been defined is in terms, if you read the different regulation, the different law, is you have a list of activities that could be financed, especially in terms of sustainability. That's quite circular, and whether an energy matter or more circularity aspect that is going all over the instruments. And but it doesn't say exactly which country, in which way the countries could use that. And it is all the work that we are doing now to say where are the priorities, considering now the state of play with the situation. We have to see also in terms of the recent national energy climate plan that have been presented, how far the member states have been challenged, have been really challenging this objective, energy and climate objective. Thus, we have to see a number of areas, and then I think there would be a dialogue that will be at national level that has been to set up, because there are a certain number of competences that have been to be taken into account. The funds are what they are, and so they have to respect some subsidiarity aspects. In principle, yes, there are a lot of activities that could be financed under this instrument, but these are subject now. First, are some negotiation of the total budget, and secondly, they are subject to a certain number of priorities that the member states themselves have, and some distributional priority also within the countries, between the cities, the region, and the country itself.
You know, I am asking that because we are making suggestions in a kind of bottom-up processes. We are suggesting our national government possible projects and proposals for the recovery plans. So to know something about those guidelines will be very helpful for us. Is there any public information, or will be any public information about those guidelines?
Yeah, yes, it's part of this renovation wave. And maybe we will even anticipate even the publication, the renovation wave, if possible, to provide, I would say, some guidelines about how they can these instruments could be used. We have some in our unit. We have done ourselves a kind of screening of these different instruments in order to see in which way they could be applied to the construction ecosystem. This we have done that, of course, but you know, it's still subject to some refinement. We have done that in collaboration with the association, the EU association. Also, this it's not a mystery. I would say it's not secret work. It's if you have some this the European Federation, European Building Federation, they have done that, and I suppose that other associations have done that. They have asked us an opinion on that. So we have given them some opinion about the way they were interpreting it was correct or not. This, so I would say I would say at least the destination of these funds about how they could potentially be used are there. Now it's I would say the challenge would be now to translate that into the national context, and this is where the Commission is working now.
Okay, Antonio, if I can add something just very quickly, just to give you the information also that, for instance, in Portugal, along these lines, our Ministry of Environmental Ministry has launched exactly last week some measures regarding renovation that consider some resource efficiency measures, meaning energy efficiency, water efficiency in buildings, trying to stimulate through the environmental fund some support to people that wants to renovate. I think this is very important. We are waiting for the renovation wave, which I think it's important because it moves small and medium companies, SMEs, and that was being able during this pandemic crisis. Really, renovation works have continued and have kept alive some of these micro and small companies, and this is important for job maintenance, is important for the recovery plans in this post-COVID or COVID pandemic situation. So I think there is examples in Portugal. As I said, the Ministry of Environment and Energy has launched last week, and I think using the environmental fund. So it's possible to have this kind of mechanism, and it is important that these measures are accompanied by the European Union goals like resource efficiency, Green Deal, the circular economy, because it's also managing this action plan in these fields, and this is quite important for the construction ecosystem. So there is already some, and we are waiting for October for more news about the recovery plan, about the renovation wave plan that and the kind of measures that it can stimulate.
That's the point.
Really important
that's the point. Sorry, because we need to close. That's the point.
Sorry.
In contact with Antonio Paparella and with your area, the area of construction, we need to be in a continuous dialogue, and I think that's important to say. Okay, there are a very strong global ecosystem on clusters, construction clusters, and related clusters, digital or energy in Europe, and I think that Antonio, we are proposing us as an actor to be taken in account and to establish a continuous dialogue with you if you want. Okay, so this is our offer, and please don't hesitate to contact us or to invite us to any action that you think could help in this goal. Okay. Thank you, everybody. It's late, too late, for your participation, and we are continuing with this. In next session tomorrow, we will speak about a long name, and I need to review. Partnership of Industrial Modernization Platforms, and you are all invited to join us and contribute. Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, Enrique.
Thank you.